Let's explore creating this page using our current grid system. Right now, grid is as wide as the page, and we need to constrain that. That isn't what's happening on the real site. To constrain the grid, in my layout, I'm going to add outer page center, only one semicolon, and page max width 1200 pixels, take up the full width, display inline block. Going to my index page, which is the whole grid, I'll slim this down in a moment. There'll be a class of outer, followed by a class of page. And after the container, I'm closing this page and then closing the outer. Two new ending divs right there and there. I'll space it inward just for neatness. I'll also attach my layout CSS that contains all my components and any page overrides. Now our page knows how to have a full width and no bigger than that and still be responsive. And that kind of matches this site. This site is wider than 1200 pixels. You can measure it by taking a screenshot and opening up in Photoshop. I'm leaving it at 1200 pixels because I'm giving a demo and I want things to be out on screen. I need things to fit. Let me put in this top header, which includes navigation. I'm just going to block out a row. This row goes beyond this inner content area. It's beyond the grid. This is full bleed. This means this top area, this top hero area, is outside the page, which is outside the div container. I'll call this selector class top nav. Top nav. That's the content for it. I'll take a look and then I'll stylize it. Let's just see if it's functioning the way I expect it. It is. Here's top nav. I have to prove it stretches fully to the left and right. Let me go to my layout. Make a new selector. I'm calling it top nav. It knows to have a width of 100%. I want to get the correct color. I'll do that by going to this page, right click, inspect. Clicking on the header here, I can see this is the color, background color. I'm just going to copy all that. Command C, Control C, and I'll paste it here. I'm going to give it a temporary height of 100 pixels as I build out the rest of the page. Then I'll come back for responsiveness. Refresh, and there's our nav bar. Our nav bar should float its content to the left side. Text align, left. Time to break this into grids. Looking at the page, I think it's a 7x5 grid. Let me make one of those. Going to the index page, and here's a row. Don't need this row anymore. You can start with a blank template. I'm just showing you how to transform the current template that you have into your design. I have a row that has two different columns in it. I want the first column to be 7 across, and I'll call this one just 7 as a temporary placeholder. And I want the next column to be 5 across. I'll call this 5. Saving it. Going to this page, refresh, and there's our 7x5. The hero image goes here, followed by a 5 column right here. Underneath there will be a 12 column. Putting in here as a placeholder, so this way something comes up, I can go fix it. There's just one 12 column, and that will contain this big image. Taking another look. I already created a component, and that component is the hero component. Here's the hero section. I'm going to copy that whole component. Go to the first row, and going to the left side, which has a 7-column span. So this one, and I'm going to paste the component. And when it doesn't work, we'll fix something. You can make this a little neater by indenting. Now, all these indents, it'll be harder to understand where things begin and end. So keep your HTML and CSS neat. Refreshing. And look, oh, the height doesn't stretch beyond here. It's not filling the whole container. What to do? This is easy to fix. Going to the grid CSS, go to this grid CSS and look for .row where it's searching for all the columns and make its height 100%. Go back to your page, hit refresh, and that works out. Let me check in Chrome. Works out there as well. Put it in the other component. I copied this component and I'm pasting it within the 5-column spans right here. I also added HTML comments from the beginning to the end of the sidebar and indentations, making it easier to copy from comment to comment, paste. This way, when you're doing production, it's easier to see where things begin and end. Saving this, going here, refresh, and that's exactly what we were looking for. I temporarily put in a border around the component, which I have to remove, and also my text has to align left. Let me correct that now by going to the sidebar and adding text align left and removing the border. Finish this up, I'm going to add a gutter or an alley in between the columns. And I'm going to be using padding. To do this, go to your grid.css, and at the bottom, I'm pasting in this. Find all divs, and within those divs, if there's something beginning with columns, add padding right of 20 pixels. I also have padding right 0 pixels for the last of type. And the reason I did that without this here, let me just show you. You see there's a 20 pixel padding here and here, so this one's correct, but not on this last column. By finding again with a selector that starts with col and only applying to the last type of that selector, padding of 0 pixels, we get what we're looking for, which is this. Having a background is great for analyzing the page. If you want a quick way to turn it off, within this definition that applies padding to all columns, I also have this background RGBA setting the alpha down to 0, so no opacity for the background. And now I can see the page as it would appear. You can start adding in more padding around. After you're done flowing in all the components, go back and individualize the components with the proper content to match that of the site.